At the beginning of the story, we see a man running like a madman through the mountainous forests. He had a massive sword on his back, and his face was covered with cloth. He then took another sword in his hand and jumped from the top of the mountain. At the same time, many people were fighting below, and this man pounced on one of them like a hungry lion, finishing him off. Another man called this first man Commander. Then, both of them ran together and joined the fight. From the scene, it was clear that the ones wearing orange clothes were their enemies. The commander's sword was moving, as if a lion was roaring through the jungle. With each slice of his sword, 15 to 20 people were dying. Seeing the state of their comrades, the ones in orange attire started throwing bombs together. Seeing this, everyone ran in different directions. But the commander did not. He used his massive sword as a shield and stood his ground. The sword successfully protected him from all the bombs. Then, he picked up the same sword and charged toward the orange-dressed enemies. Seeing this, all the orange-dressed men were terrified and immediately realized that their death was inevitable. The battle ended, and we saw that all the orange-clothed people were dead. The black-haired man said, "Commander, this mission was successful. Who would have thought they had bombs? If we hadn't reacted in time, perhaps none of us would have survived." Just then, suddenly a man grabbed his leg. That man was still alive. Seeing this, the blood-covered man was about to finish him off with his sword, but then he noticed many small bombs hidden inside the dying man's clothes. The man laughed and said, "I will take all of you with me to the underworld. This will be my last gift to you." The commander was utterly shocked. Before he could do anything, the bombs exploded. The power of the explosion was so immense that no one there survived. Only the commander tried to protect himself with his sword, but we then saw him hanging from a tree branch on the edge of the cliff. There was no one left alive, and with his sword, he eventually fell into the river below. After this, we see a child who was picking flowers in the mountains for someone. While gathering flowers, he suddenly saw a ghostly figure in front of him. However, that ghost was none other than the commander. Seeing such a body in front of him, the child got scared. He first tried to check whether the man was even alive, but after getting no response, he ran away from there. A little later, we see some men dragging the commander somewhere, and the child was with them. This child's name was Sivok Dong. After this, inside a house, we see a doctor and an old man treating the commander. The old man asked, "What do you think? Will he survive?" The doctor replied, "His wounds are very deep. I can't say anything for sure." Looking at both of the commander's swords, the old man wondered, "Who are you, and what might have happened to you?" Just then, Sivok Dong entered the room carrying hot water. He too was concerned about the unknown man. The doctor reassured him, saying, "Don't worry, Sivok Dong. Because of your efforts, he will surely recover." More hot water was needed, so Sivok Dong left the room to bring some. As soon as he came out, a girl suddenly approached him and asked, "Sivok Dong, who is inside? Whom have you brought? Are they being treated?" Sivok Dong said, "Lady Jung Ryong, please come aside. I will tell you everything." After this, Sivok Dong narrated the entire story to Jung Ryong. Then he pleaded, "Please, miss, this is a secret. You must not tell anyone." Jung Ryong did not understand. Helping someone with treatment is a good thing. Why does it need to be kept a secret? She asked. Sivok Dong explained, "Actually, miss, if you treat a warrior without thinking, there's no guarantee what might happen in the future. This is a taboo. That's why Mr. Wang said to keep it a secret." Jung Ryong, who was 13 years old, replied, "No matter who it is, treating an injured person is the right thing to do." Then, Jung Ryong took the pot from Sivok and ran to see the warrior herself. Mr. Wang was surprised to see her there. Even Jung Ryong was frightened when she saw a man so severely injured. Before Mr. Wang could explain anything to her, Jung Ryong put her finger on her lips, signaling him to be quiet, and said, "It's a secret, remember? Don't worry, I won't tell anyone." Mr. Wang said, "Yes, our rules do not allow this." Jung Ryong then asked the doctor if he needed any herbs or materials, saying she could arrange them, but the doctor refused, saying they didn't need anything. Since the commander was lying face down, Jung Ryong could not see his face. she said. "I hope you recover soon. No, you must recover." Then she left the room. Within just a few days of treatment, the commander started recovering rapidly. Even the doctor was amazed at how fast he was healing. He couldn't believe that his medicine was so effective. Time passed, and within a few months, the commander was fully recovered. We then see him talking to Mr. Wang, but what they were discussing was not revealed to us. One night, when Zhang Ryong was feeding a cat, she saw a man going somewhere in the darkness. Just then, Zhang Ryong accidentally hit her head against a tree, causing a sound. The man turned back to look, but neither the commander nor Zhang Ryong could recognize each other. The commander glanced at the girl once and then walked away. 5 years later, we see a sect named Sijia where a party was going on. Si Zhuang and the head of the Zheng family were sitting together, drinking, and enjoying the celebration. The Zheng family head thanked Si Zhuang for helping them so much and also for their future collaboration. The head of the Si Zhuang family said, No, it's nothing like that. When I heard that the Zhang family was falling into a difficult situation, I felt really bad, so let's forget the past and work together for the future. Not far from them, the eldest son of the Zhang family was speaking to his sister saying, Zhang Ryong, now we won't face any more problems. From now on, only good things await us, Zhang Ryong replied. There's nothing better than harmony between the two families. At that moment, a large number of men dressed in black entered Sijia. No guard stopped them, and they walked in without any resistance, heading directly toward the place where the warriors of the Zhang family were eating and drinking. Over there, they directly launch an attack, and since those people were resting at that time, they don't even get a chance to defend themselves, but one of them manages to escape and rushes toward the place where the party is happening. He shouts to warn his lord, saying, Lord, flee from here quickly. We have been attacked. But before he can finish his sentence, the intruders eliminate him. However, for some reason, Si Zhuang's lord remained very calm, even amidst all this chaos. After the lord of the Young family shouts and requests Si Zhuang to stop these intruders, Zheng orders his warriors to stop the intruders. As they leave that place, the head of the Young family glances at the head of Sijia, and there, he sees an evil smile. Seeing this, he immediately understands that all of this was his plan. After this, we see the family members of the warriors who died in the ambush crying. Mr. Wang was overseeing the entire situation. On the other side, Zhongju was shouting in anger. You are still telling me to stop. You were telling me that I should wait for the Blind Alliance. Now let's explain a little about the Blind Alliance. The Marim Alliance created the Blind Alliance to uphold justice and honor, meaning you can consider them something like the police or cops. A minister from the Young family says, Yes, sir, they are trying to find out who is behind all this. Zhongju becomes even angrier and says, The ones who carried out the ambush, I am 100% sure that the mastermind behind all this is Si Zhuang. Another minister says, Perhaps I think those people are secretly working with the Blind Alliance, because of which Zhongju's body was trembling with rage, while Zheng Rian was secretly watching the meeting. A few weeks later, an ultimatum arrives for the Young family. An ultimatum means the final warning. Either comply with what is written, or go to war. The letter stated that the Young family, which had lost its power, would now be taken over by Sijia. Along with that, the desolate mountains and territories under their rule, including the people governed by the Young family, would all fall under Sijia control. After reading this, Zhongju angrily throws the letter to the ground. This letter divides all the ministers into two groups. One side believed that they should fight Sijia family immediately, while the other believed that since all their best warriors were already dead, the remaining warriors were no match for Sijia. They suggested seeking help from the Habu Peng family, saying that fighting without their assistance was impossible. Zheng says, We don't have time to wait for their help. Find masters who can help us at any cost. That evening, Zhongju receives a letter from Mr. Hong in which it was written, Lord, by the time you read this letter, I will no longer be here. Perhaps I have already crossed Kusuwan and reached some unknown village. I apologize in advance for disappearing from my post for a month, but I thought this opportunity would only come once. At this moment, when the imperial flame is spreading like fire and screams can be heard from all directions, I felt that you would be able to trust me. However, I am not entirely sure whether I will be able to bring him back or not, but I still believe in the care and trust I gave him 5 years ago. Please forgive my incapability, for I am going far away, and that is why I have to say this. But I want to make a promise. If he returns with me, his strength will be very beneficial for us. Please keep an eye on things without failing. I will return with good news. Your sincere, Wang Ju. On the other side, while walking, Wang Ju sees a house in the mountains, and he feels that this might be the very place he left home for. It was raining outside, so he entered the house to take shelter. After the rain stopped, he stepped outside and saw a mountain formed entirely of stones. As he reached near the stones, he found some strange-looking things. One of them was nothing but leaves from a tree, but how did they end up like this? Then Wang Ju looks up and sees a tree above him. He realizes that someone had cut the fallen leaves from the tree with a knife, and all the fallen leaves were of the same size, which was an astonishing sight. Just then, someone from behind says, "Old man," and we see the commander. After that, the two of them sit by the fire and start talking. Wang Ju asks, "How is this place? And are you all right? Living so deep in the mountains, do you have any problems?" "There isn't even a single house visible nearby." The commander replies, "No, this is better because there is nothing here, and no one who can cause much harm." Wang Ju says, "All right." Just then, the commander says, "I never thought you would ever come here. And how did you know that it was me?" Wang Ju says, "Didn't you intentionally leave your clothes at the entrance?" The commander replies, "Yes, that's fine. But I never told you that I would be here." Then he says, "Old man, you are the only person who knows about this place." After sitting in silence for a while, the commander asks, "So what are you doing here?" Wang Ju had been holding those leaves in his hands for a long time, observing them. Mentally, he was preparing himself, wondering if he should do this or not. Then, gathering his courage, he says, "I need your help." Wang Ju then tells the commander the entire story, how a few months ago, Sijia Young, who had been interfering in the Young family's affairs for a long time, had arranged a banquet so that both families could move forward together by forgetting past conflicts. The Young family, like fools, trusted Sijia Young. However, they had to pay the price for this. On the day of the banquet, when some masked men eliminated all of the Young family's elite warriors, except for Mr. Hong, the Lord's eldest son, and Miss Young Rion, no one else survived. After staying silent for a while, the commander asks, "Did you ask for help from the Blind Alliance?" Wang Ju replies, "We tried, but you know what? They told us to wait until they could get to the absolute bottom of this incident." The commander is slightly surprised by this and simply says, "Is that all?" Ju responds, "Yes, that's all. Maybe the Blind Alliance has decided to support Sijia Zhong. That's why I am asking for your help. I won't ask for anything else from you. I won't even tell you to go out and fight them. Just help me. Buy some time. I have asked for help from Heavy Ping Jia, and with their support, I know we can stop Sijia Zhong. Until then, lend me your strength." The commander says, "Forgive me. I haven't met anyone in all these years, so I don't think I will be of much help." Wang Ju tries to convince the commander, "That doesn't matter to me. I don't care what you did in the past, but there's one thing I can tell you for sure. The only difference between a deployed officer and a guard is that the former has a defined objective." The commander says, "To tell the truth, there's another reason. I don't want to work with a sword anymore, especially not when saving someone might mean killing someone else." Wang Ju then takes a book out of his pocket and hands it to the commander. The commander doesn't understand what it is. Ju begins speaking. On the first page, there is a boy named Xiao Gidang, who will turn 14 this year. He gathers medical herbs in the mountains, and his sense of responsibility is so strong that if there is a need for medical herbs, he goes out at night to find them. That boy is the son of Xiao Kong Sik. On the second page, there is a boy named Geo, who has been working in the fields to survive since the age of 5. He will turn 15 this year. On the third page, there is Zhang Desa, who was born this very year. Before Ju can finish, the commander interrupts. "What do all of these have to do with anything?" Wang Ju replies, 300 lives. If you come with me, you will be able to save so many people. Over there, more than 300 people don't know how to fight. We can't just sit back and watch them die in silence. Shouldn't we try to save as many people as possible? You tell me yourself. The commander carefully looks at the book and says, "Old man, don't you know what kind of place Jang is? If you don't have the strength to survive, then you shouldn't even be alive." Before the commander can finish speaking, Wang Ju bursts out in anger. What? What? Are you saying we should all die just because we don't have power? Isn't it the duty of the strong to help the powerless? Were you born strong? Your mother, your father, were they born strong? Every person alive today is here because someone strong helped them, and that strong person wasn't always a stranger. You and I are alive today because so many people helped us. Don't get me wrong, people only ask for help when they truly need it. Just like how hunting deer and protecting the crops from damage is not really helping. Just like how building stone towers and praying for the people who died at the entrance of the village does not help anyone either. The commander says nothing. No, he cannot say anything. Seeing no response, Wang Ju puts on his coat and starts walking away, but then he suddenly stops and says, "Do you remember the boy from the first page? Sigdong, 5 years ago, when you were found in a half-dead state. It was none other than Xiao Gedang who found you. Then he came to me and led me to you. Do you know how far he ran? It was no less than 2 kilometers. A round trip would be nearly 4 kilometers. A child, not even 10 years old, ran such a long distance. So long that even a strong person would find it difficult to walk. He came to me, begging me to save you, while he himself was struggling to breathe. Think. Your life was saved by a weak child. The weak people you just spoke of, they are the ones who saved your life. Remember this. Zhong is a place where real humans live." Then, Hanju hands him a piece of paper and says, "If you ever change your mind, here is the map to the Zhang family." Wang Ju then leaves. The commander does not utter a single word. After sitting in silence for a long time, the commander picks up the book again and looks at it. Sigdong. Why does this name feel so familiar? Then, a memory flashes in the commander's mind. "You cannot die, uncle." The commander then throws the book into the fire, walks up to the stone mountain, bows to it, apologizes, and then smashes the mountain. After that, the commander digs into the ground and pulls out a box that looks like a casket. Inside the box are his 2 swords, one named Guma, and the other, the demonic sword. Looking at the swords, the commander silently prepares himself.